Hello, fellow Factorians. Welcome back to my Pyanodons challenge run. During the last episode, I worked primarily on increasing the amount of science that we can make, as well as stabilizing it some. So a more stable ash supply, more wood, turning on the iron processing build, or at least the half that I'd turned off previously. And it mostly worked well, but there was a little bit of an issue. It turns out that I am not making quite enough tar to stay in 225 signs per minute. I had originally planned everything way back when to make 180, and that's what it dipped down to, just managing not to trip my alarm by the skin of my teeth. So that's not the best, although it still racks up a win, and I'm really, really happy not to have to report a failure. I'm going to go make some more tar at the start of the episode, and hopefully that will fix everything. It should be pretty simple. I also have a couple of new techs that I need to address, and I waited toward the end of the hands-off period to run around my base and put down some planned blueprints. I need to make plastic, and I need to make landscape. Landscape is going to, landfill. What was I thinking? Landfill is going to let me go fishing deeper in lakes, and plastics I need for a tiny bit for some buildings that are coming up. Otherwise, I hope to get to the basic substrate build that I've been planning for ages. I've spent so many hours working on a blueprint, and I will talk through why it's so complicated. Partially just because it's Pyanodons hard mode with spoilage on, and partially just because I like making things more complicated on myself than necessary. Anyway, I'm gonna jump into the episode and start working on things. Thank you so much for joining me. So I had a near miss on a failure, and that's definitely something I'm going to be addressing this episode. First, though, I'm gonna make myself some landfill here. I would like to be able to. I'd like to be able to have like 100 at least before the end of the episode, so that I can use it to go fishing deeper inside of lakes. That's going to make it nice for me to make yet more wind power, even though wind power was temporarily a problem. I still consider it my friend, so that's what I'm going to do. Probably don't need this much buffer on stone. Just enough to help void gravel if it ever comes down here, which will vary based off the acetylene I'm using. Oh, I also need to go into hands-on mode. So I wasn't doing much. I barely touched anything. Alright, so this can be completely standalone. I can just grab some fuel and feed it. I really don't expect to make very much landfill. It's not like I'm going to be filling in those lakes just spear fishing or shotgun fishing. Maybe the blueprint shotgun will let me hit a little bit deeper, grab from further away. I think it might work that way. Anyway, so yeah, I'm just going to do this, and then probably limit the amount to just one stack plus the ash. Put back the power pole that I removed. It was critical. Fix the fact that there was a reversed belt there. And now I'm going to go take care of tar. I need to make some more tar and also fix a couple other minor things with science. So I'm going to run off and do that. I'll be back once I've gotten stuck in on that project. Alright, well, I'm going to set up a little bit of mining, also fix the fact that this ash could be cleared a little better. I need to make sure this inserter works. Actually, I need to add a couple more inserters here, so I'm going to get started on that. Oops, I did fill up my inventory. Clear out some of that. And then I'm going to add, like another partial build of this setup, which you've seen before, so nothing fancy that you haven't already seen me doing before. I think the only difference is that I'm going to set it up so that I separate out the iron oxide early, and therefore by doing that, I can reduce my reliance on splitters a little bit. It's just a little bit of a UPS optimization to do so. And, you know, like, less splitters is better. Only use them when you absolutely must. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so yeah, let me build some of these stacks, and then I will be back at when I'm have deployed mortar. Okay, so that should be some additional tar production. I don't think I will need more than that stack up there. I just need to now deal with the byproducts of all this stuff, like the coke. Shouldn't be too bad. I think there's still capacity here to deal with it. Might extend that slightly. Let's see. I think 20 boilers is enough to avoid a full line of coke, not just 18. So a full half belt, I mean. There we go. Ash is processing again. Where was that iron oxide line? Yeah, I don't need this anymore. No need for more belt merging. That's all good. Yeah, so I can just add a couple more boilers, although still should be plenty to process what I've got going right now. All right, I'm just going to take a quick check, make sure everything is running as expected, which it is. Currently just needs a couple more adjustments, I guess. And then I will get on to the next task. Of course, science dipped while I was happening. That's completely expected. All right. I'm going to check in on this later and make sure it's running well. But I want to get on to some other stuff because I've got quite the task list. Let's take a look. So, more tar production. That was the biggest priority. I think I also did landfill. Next, while I'm up here especially, I think I'm going to adjust syngas slightly, in as much as I would like to have a small buffer of coal gas, so that when the wind picks up and this build starts running, it's got something to work with. Nothing else beyond that. Also, I'm going to add a pump now to keep this full. As I said, it's just here so that when I use this wind power system, this build can run completely. Basically, it needs to like be able to take up a whole bunch of coal gas at once. I'm also going to do a similar thing here with acetylene. I'm going to hook it up to a wind power sensor. That acetylene build, at least at the moment, is very underutilized. So it's useful for me to be able to just say, make it when I'm fully running on wind power alone. All right, yes, and now this is already disabled because I don't have Double check. Yeah, I'm not running entirely on wind power, and this has at least 10% full. Okay, so that's a little bit more of my tasks done. Where was this? That's done, and acetylene. So next I have a couple of other issues to deal with in the science build. Let's go take a look at those. They're not minor, but they cropped up because of what I did last time. So because this is not getting a full load of ash, this over buffered, and I'm going to shrink these buffers down to a single stack and replace them with iron chests because of that, and push the stone that I just borrowed from the system into the last set of empty planter box builds, because those actually will need the extra stone. So let's put some in here and some in here, and then I will close this down to just this full slot. All right. That should help my system out quite a bit. Let's see what else. Can I make a flora collector? Yeah. So I was when I do run at 225, my flora collectors do not keep up with it. So I'm just going to add a couple of those. Let's run over here and do it. I think I'm also missing radar somewhere. More like out here. Put another one down. Here's a good slot. Fits in nicely. So I think I had pretended I was going to build more here and just ran out. So very hard to tell if there's an actual flora collector there or not. Okay, and that will fix that, because this needs a half lane up here to run at 225. All right, next task. And the final one that does anything with science. I really want to get rid of all of these buffers. Let's fill those up. Yep, slowly getting rid of it. Okay, next task. I think there's a minor issue with stone. I found a bunch of belts and pipes that were disabled, so I marked them for deletion later. It's really nice to be able to run around my base and see all these things that I need to clean up. Not quite as nice to not be able to do it at the time, but it's still nice to be able to mark them and say, hey, for sure, you need to fix this. That is that this over here needs to be lane balanced somehow. I think when it runs at full tilt, get rid of the priority. When this runs at full tilt, it can't clear itself out, and that's why there's a bunch of ash stuck in these back ones, because this lane overfilled. And that's going to help make sure that I don't void carbolic. Alright, that should help my science get going back up to the maximum capacity. If it doesn't catch up in 10 minutes, well, then you'll know that I got it wrong, but yeah, hopefully that will be enough. If not, I can also add a little bit of a boost by adding yet another pitch to brick system. So here I want to make a small, very, very small amount of plastic, so I'm just going to toss them into a chest. I put this here because maybe I will add it to this lane here and send it back to my mall, but for now, a couple of stacks of plastic will be more than sufficient. In fact, I probably only need, count, 40 plastics, but might as well make some extra. So plastics are super easy. They are just aromatics and syngas. Let's find a good lane for syngas. I think this lane is going to be clear. I want to also be able to send it to the left as well as to the right. It's going to help me run glass furnaces in the future when I'm running low on liquid fuels. So yeah, somewhere around here. Maybe I don't want it to end up in my road. Out like that. Oops. And now I need to drag up aromatics. That will just take me a moment. I'll be back after I've done that. It should be super simple. All right, and that is plastics already. Hopefully it's going to get started basically immediately. Yeah, aromatics will pile in slowly. It's fine that it's not filling up. In fact, it's great that it's not filling up. That means my miners are fully clearing it out. So that is add fluoroform, add small amounts of plastics. Now the last thing that I really want to get to is, I want to stop my timer from blinking at me. Hopefully that fixes it all. Now, this is what I want to do. This is going to be my basic substrate build. It is massive and it is complicated. So rather than try and explain it during hands-off time, what I'd like to do is I'd really like to try and get to build at least a bit of it so that I can show off what it does rather than talk while I'm trying to build and actually not get very much done. Even with the blueprint shotgun, I find that I'm not the greatest at explicating while I am talking. And maybe if I get far enough, I'll actually be able to show pieces of it working, which would be just grand. So yeah, I'm going to work on that, and I will be back after I get as far as I possibly can with it. Also get to use some of these buildings up that I'd left sitting here, so that's even better. Okay, I've got some work done on it. I'm just going to keep going until I'm low on time. I also really want to check what's going on with my science build. I think it's certainly running better. It's not running excellent, though. So, yeah, I need to double check what is going on with this. It's definitely a planter box issue, isn't it? All right, well, it was simple. Just some iron oxide not getting voided, so missed an underground. So I'm gonna go back to work, see where else I've got problems, and head into hands-off time, assuming that I've succeeded in making these builds work. So back in a little bit. Okay, so big chunks of this build are done, but I don't think I'm going to try and turn it on right now, partially because I need to get some materials to bring over here, like the glass, and partially because I don't want to wreck things and start generating biocrud if I have a runaway disaster. So I'm going to like maybe add just a few more fish mills with the remaining time I've got. Then I'm going to go into hands-off mode and hope that science stays at this amazing rate that it's currently at, and talk you through that build. So those of you who just like seeing me shoot the blueprint shotgun at things, maybe you can skip over this. And those of you who love to hear about how the circuit network can help you prevent biocrud, you can stick around for that. 411 fish turbines. Sounds like a good number to me. All right, let's jump into hands-off mode. Nope. There it is. And then I'll go walk you through the basic substrate build. So there's a few factors that made me decide to make it the way it is. Partially, I just like making big, complicated, integrated builds that do as much feeding nearby as possible. I think rather than, like there's a bunch of alien life stuff like moss and seaweed that you could make a centralized build for it. You could, and then put it on a belt, and that's not bad. But basically, all you need is a few liquids, and liquids are much cheaper UPS-wise to ship around than anything you put on a belt, even though belts are pretty efficient. Then there's the fact that many of these things will never get upgraded until I've gotten so far in the technology tree that basically, like I'll be tearing apart this whole thing and beaconing it, etc., etc. So I'm not worried about ever upgrading moss. I'm not worried about ever upgrading seaweed. Everything in here basically doesn't get upgraded until at least, I think, Pi 2, when I can get Mark II buildings on some of these things, for instance. Yeah, it's great that this sticks the way it is. Petri dishes, on the other hand, and glassware, another component, which I'm building externally, those do get upgraded relatively soon, and that's why I'm pushing them out here, for instance, and they'll be put in on a belt. Also, they're the lowest. They just don't take much. A small trickle of Petri dishes will keep this build running. So what is the basic substrate? Basic substrate is this orange stuff that you end up putting in a research lab, which I don't have yet. I don't have the research for it. But you combine it with glassware and you get Pi Science 1. So it's like the orange goo that you make the science out of. So you'd think it'd be the most complicated thing. And now that spoilage is in, it actually is probably the most difficult part. Although it used to be not the glassware. The glassware just takes liquid glass and some power. But the rubber stopper that goes into the glassware used to be the most complicated thing to build here, because you needed this species of alien bug that you would harvest and turn into formic acid and etc. etc. I'll be building that later, but yeah, it's weird that the stopper, not the container, not the stuff inside, but the stopper was the most complicated thing. Now it's basic substrate because a lot of things spoil. So you have microorganism mines that take petri dishes. The incubated petri dishes spoil in 45 seconds. However, they're the easiest part to deal with because they spoil back into petri dishes. So if you put them on a circular belt and you make sure that belt doesn't get overloaded, you can easily just keep recycling it. And the microorganism mines are relatively cheap to power. They only take 155 kilowatts each, so it's not bad to not worry about these just endlessly cycling petri dishes. That's one component of the basic substrate, the incubated petri dishes. These guys, I guess, put some bacteria on it, and just then you use the cellulose and moss to make some kind of matrix of biological mess here. Moss is simple. You've seen it built before. I just need to make sure that I always have a bunch of it on hand. And then cellulose. Cellulose is the same problem that we encountered with the copper zinc batteries. It's the thing that will, along with agar, that will spoil into Biocrud, and Biocrud is really bad because it will hang out around for a very, very long time until I can compost it. Therefore, I'm going to try and absolutely minimize the amount of Biocrud that I make. Agar gets added to the petri dish, which is completely realistic. Like, that's actually a real-world recipe. You make seaweed into agar, which you can grow bacteria on. But it's very simple to prevent the agar from spoiling into the Biocrud, because all you have to do is wire these two buildings together. You check if this building has petri dishes to be made into... it has the empty petri dishes to be made into petri dishes. If it has an extra one, you can make an extra agar and put it in. I'm not going to check if the building is fueled. There's a few things that I'm going to just assume are guaranteed, like that I have logs always on hand. But I'm going to try and verify, like many other components to make sure spoilage doesn't happen. And here's one of the places that happens. Cellulose is probably the thing I'm most worried about spoiling, because when it goes into this basic substrate, it takes 3 of them, which is kind of like the same problem as the battery. I also am not doing what I did with the battery, which is to make an extra high-pressure furnace to just act as the high-pressure furnace of last resort. I have a little bit more clever idea. So the basic thing when you're trying to avoid spoilage of a short-term ingredient is to make sure that the building that is going to consume the spoiling ingredient can take it. So to make sure that this basic substrate can take it, we're going to make sure we've got moss. The way I'm making sure I've got moss is to read the high tanks here with carbon dioxide and muddy sludge and stop entering petri dishes into the system if I don't. That's kind of like a long way to do it, but I also can buffer just a whole bunch of carbon dioxide and muddy sludge and read it and just make sure that way. So, if I fall under the limit here, I've got, like hundreds and hundreds of moss that I can still make before it actually becomes a problem. So that's the moss taken care of. The basic substrate, I verify that I've got that just by checking this belt over here to make sure I've got at least 20 of it. 20 of it means that I can make at least 5 cycles of I can make 10 cycles of the recipe before I run out, and that therefore, the cellulose will empty out as the wood is processed and no more wood enters the system. The wood processing unit is down here and is blocked by these pieces of belt. I don't have a combinator to do an AND of several conditions, so that's how I'm doing it, by ANDing them by blocking the belt in different spots. Another thing you have to do is make sure that your outputs are never blocked. I've got a chest here for basic substrate, and I'm going to make sure that chest is at most half full. It's okay for me to buffer a bit of it because this research server will be able to run faster than this machine can make, or the processes here can make this machine run. So if I get a little bit buffered, it just means that I can make a little science a little bit faster. But really, this chest is here to make sure that the output is not never blocked. And I make a lot of basic substrates, so I can't just rely on only running one more recipe by reading this contents here. I have to actually have a chest for this, I think. So that prevents cellulose from spoiling in the major case, where basically I would keep feeding it wood, and then it would get to this belt, and then it would spoil, and I would still have measures to remove the spoilage, but then it would continuously cycle. This is to prevent the major spoilage. There's also a minor source of spoilage. The minor source of spoilage is that, okay, I block the belt, but I get like 1 or 2 cellulose in here, so I can't run the recipe again, and now I'm SOL. because, you know, like, I'm not going to make cellulose run a bunch of more wood through here because I might not have the ingredients to keep the recipe going. So this is where this little group of inserters is going to happen. I put enough wood in here to run this cellulose furnace a couple more times. And this one acts like that one in the copper zinc battery, where it checks, do you have 0 cellulose? If not, this inserter will be triggering. And make sure that I don't have, you know, like a bunch of extra wood here, so that the recipe is not going to fire multiple times. So basically just fire once if this is at greater than 0. Okay, you finished. Is this thing still greater than 0 because it didn't start running the recipe? Okay, fire one more time, add another cellulose, and then hopefully the recipe starts going. This will be at 0. I'm only reading the contents, not including crafting, and that should prevent the minor case of spoilage. Because yeah, I don't have a combinator that can do like a mod 3 function to verify, you know, like check if there's 3 units of cellulose in the system. I have to do it this way until I get better electronics. And I think overall that's the whole deal. I guess the only thing otherwise to mention is that I read a bunch about how to optimize the base, and then I've probably gone a little bit too far on belt optimization. But for instance, one of the things you can do to optimize the transport system, each lane of the belt is its own little transport network between inserters, between splitters. Like this whole belt is just one bit, but as soon as you hit an inserter or a splitter, then it makes a new one, and that's kind of like another set of stuff to process. I've gone ahead and like only used one lane. One lane means fewer transport belts. I've pushed my inserters together because within 4 tiles, the inserters don't like split off into a whole new transport system component. They kind of like interact with that by itself. So that's why I've got these two kind of close together. And in general, I've got a lot of my inserters packed together whenever possible. So yeah, single laning, avoiding splitters whenever possible, and then, you know, like making it locally so that it reduces the number of transport networks that the transport system networks that the base has to process. Hopefully this will keep my EPS running high even when I'm doing a lot of work. But yeah, I'm not, I won't claim I know everything about it. So if somebody wants to correct me and tell me that this is silly what I'm doing, please feel free. I know that it's silly to put this much effort into it, I suppose, but you know, like beyond that factor, the fact that I just like going a little bit compulsive about working on these things, it's just kind of one of the pieces that I enjoy most about Factorio. Besides that, tell me if what I'm doing here is silly. Anyway, I think I've been lecturing for 20 minutes, and I'm sure I've bored most of you to tears. Hopefully you clicked off rather than just put a dislike on it, though I would understand if you did. So I've continued to maintain a good science limit. Hopefully my base will be just running fantastic, you know, although based on prior experience, that's not going to be the case. Look forward to seeing you for the next episode, where I'm going to continue to work on that giant build and also get some of these new genetics buildings going so that I will be able to make those rauks I mentioned, the little bug things that I slaughter to make rubber stoppers. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.